Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Young-ari, an activist from Center for Peace and Disarmament of People's Solidarity for Participatory Democracy in South Korea. I would like to express my deep appreciation for those who are working towards a nuclear weapon-free world and safe society from all kinds of nuclear disasters. Particularly thanks to Japan Congress Against ANH Bombs Genshiken for inviting me today. It has been almost 30 years since both and South Korea became UN member states, but the Korean Peninsula issue as of yet still remains unsolved until nearly 70 years after the Armistice Agreement was signed. The two Inter-Korean Summit and the DPRK-US Summit in 2018 were expected to provide a historical turning point to solve the old conflicts on and around the Korean Peninsula, but the peace process on Korean Peninsula have been stagnant and retreating since the second DPRK-US Summit in Hanoi ended without any agreements. As you all know, the Korean Peninsula issue is not only for Korean Peninsula. The establishment of peace on Korean Peninsula is a process of resolving the dispute, conflicts, and distortion, and that have occurred during the colonial era and Cold War era and one generation thereafter in East Asia. And to prevent further new conflicts and disputes that may occur again and are already starting in Indo-Pacific region. In order to put the peace process on Korean Peninsula back on the track and revive the talks between the two Koreas, the DPRK and the US, it is important to respect the difficult inter-Korean and DPRK-US agreements, come up with the practical implement measures. However, the ROK government did not show much willingness in fulfilling what was agreed on. Its actions to increase the defense budget and the attempt to introduce offensive weapons contradicted how it spoke of a continuing of the conversation and improving relationship. The military power of ROK already overwhelms that of DPRK. The defense budget of ROK, being the 10th largest military spending in the world, surpassed the GDP of DPRK long ago. The ROK government should protect the spirit of Panmunjom Declaration that agreed on the disarmament in phased manner by decreasing the defense budget and establishing military confidence. Along with these efforts, we need a foundation that could help restore a relationship between the two Koreas, which could also steadily carry out inter-Korean exchange and cooperation projects that were signed between the two Koreas. The DPRK has strongly requested the US to withdraw hostile policies since the emergence of the Biden administration. When we look back at the history of DPRK and US negotiation, flexibility, dialogue, and cooperation have led to positive results, while the sanction and pressure generally stalemated negotiations. The US should learn from the Hanoi Summit and search for the realistic way to advance the talks. Washington should consider all possible methods, including the easing sanctions against the DPRK and establishment of a liaison office between the US and DPRK. Right now is an important phase to build mutual trust by agreeing and performing phased and simultaneous actions. Once the trust is placed, they will be able to deal with the more difficult problems. This is what a calibrated practical approach of Biden administration North Korea policy should look like. The two leaders of ROK and the US stated a joint statement last May that they respect the previous agreement, such as 2018 Panmunjom Declaration and Singapore Declaration. As we've seen in the two declarations, turning hostile towards each other into a new relationship based on trust is a basis and key of solving Korean Peninsula issue. The two governments must make a breakthrough in dialogue through a decision to suspend the ROK and US joint military exercise scheduled for August this year. The 2018 peace process on Korean Peninsula began with the decision to postpone the joint military exercise. What is desperately needed now is not military actions, but to sit face to face at the table of dialogue and negotiation. Going further, the efforts to solve the problems on the peninsula should be closely tied with the efforts to remove the threats of war and nuclear weapons. There are people other than the residents of the Korean Peninsula that are in pain from vicious cycle of arms race and the fear of war. Not just the countries related to the Korean War, but all countries in the world should reduce their reliance on military means, especially nuclear weapons, and concentrate on the global pandemic disasters, climate crisis, nature, and for the people who are in pain from the economic crisis. Complete denuclearization of Korean Peninsula refers to a state in which all nuclear threats are removed around the place. The elimination of extended deterrence that ROK, Japan, the US relied upon is one of the tasks of the project. A nuclear-free Korean Peninsula should be a stepping stone for a nuclear weapon-free zone in Northeast Asia, and also for a nuclear-free world. Both Korea and Japan should join the treaty on the prohibition nuclear weapons to fulfill the purpose. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has been going since January last year, has brought many changes to our lives. Wearing masks, working from home, and virtual meetings have become routine. Although people are vaccinated against COVID-19, South Korea is currently imposing the strictest level of social distancing measures. How about Japan? The Tokyo Olympic being held without spectators after Japan government declared a new state of emergency, and the Gensuken conference is being held online following last year. I hope to see you face to face after the pandemic ends as soon as possible. Thank you very much.